It is at 9 a.m. here in Los Angeles. Tuesday, May 27th, AD 2025. Gonna be a loosey-goosey, the Hake Report show. Everybody. I'm okay, I think. It's just got to tug on my Ethernet or Ethernet. I know the Ethernet is correct because it's in the ether. But I just kind of like Ethernet. My coach / whatever. I don't have to tell you the whole story. It is 9:01 now here in Los Angeles. Thank you, JLP, raiding the stream on YouTube and Rumble. I'm supposed to get live on pilled.net. Yep, I am. Should be live on all my other platforms, including punchy.tv/Hake. Wow, I can't believe this flat earth stuff. I agree with you, Hake. One big, beautiful, round earth. Thank you, man. I agree with you, Jim in Alaska. Very fun flat earther conversations. A flat earther asking pertinent questions. Yesterday, got a shout out, a huge shout out to Daniel in Texas, Tejas. If the world is this big circle of the earth, and it's flat, and the sun is tighter things in the summertime for the northern hemisphere, and then looser, well, it's not a hemisphere, the center of the, closer to the center of the circle up north, and then further, quote unquote, south, the outer areas of the circle, it's going around a whole lot faster, but that means that it's, you get less light, daylight, and then, like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And I don't know if I'm able to explain it in the way that it doesn't make sense. Clearly, if you're not able to follow me. But what, does the sun go, does it slow down for the land area so that it doesn't make any sense? And Daniel is a history buff. And so he was reading about people's voyages down there, and he didn't notice they would have written about it had the days and nights been significantly different to up in the northern area. So he said, like, he's a flat earther, but it makes sense on a ball. Anyway, shout out to him. He's not holding on to his ideas necessarily. He's questioning it when it doesn't make sense. Anyway, am I live on my? Oh yeah, I'm live on my various different platforms, guys. I will get to your calls. 1-888-775-3773. And your super chats. buymeacoffee.com/The Hake Report. Joel Friday TV will be alive after Hake. Will be live after Hake. What's up, Rumble Crew? Quartus 41. Thanks for the support. Monthly support. That's cool. Not this stuff again, says Bobby. I know. I wonder if I should approve it. I'll approve it. He didn't say stuff. He said a different S word, SH. But I approved it because, you know, I understand. Don't read the chat, kids. The chat is it's called the Snake Pit. Boomer can't raid. Indeed, it's terrible. Boomers can't raid. And actually, I'm the boomer. It's true. As I get prepared, the blacks are just a mess. You know what I mean? Even / especially the educated ones. Oh, this is a different. I get it. This is pointed This is pointed over here. It's no wonder because he centers himself over here. And it makes no sense. You just go over here. The camera's pointed wrong because we swapped cameras because we have the fallen state. As you heard JLP say, we have the fallen state taping. And so I'm going to blame Bill. It looks like... And I like this camera because I can look directly into the reflection and see 2024 centered on the thing, and that's how I know that I'm centered. Although it's 2024 centered. Whatever. Anyway, shout out to Bill. A rare error on Bill's part. We'll blame Bill, right? Yeah, it's Bill's fault. Please. The fallen state gets the good camera on taping days. Okay, let's get going. I started to talk about these blacks. What's up with blacks? You gotta get a hold of yourself. A shout out. Many of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Probably better than I do, because you know blacks. I know blacks because I've seen them on TV since childhood, being goofy and silly. I thought that nobody really took Al Sharpton seriously or Jesse Jackson seriously. I thought that everybody knew that they were just ridiculous. As a child, I could tell. My parents could tell. They fell for the racism thing a little bit, you know, because they're boomers. Oh, no, it's slavery. Psh, please. But my goodness, you're just swimming in delusion. And the reason I'm saying that is because there is this guy who he woke up thinking about the blacks again. Oh, by the way, I've gotten to know blacks calling into my radio show, calling into Jesse's radio show, listening to you guys talk. Some more sensible than others, of course. Some just off the deep end, crazy, cockamamie ideas. But this Morehouse College guy, I think he's like the president of Morehouse College, if I'm not mistaken, called this deceased young man who died at a young age while attending college, I guess, studying divinity. They say he was lynched by several white men. One guy, look at my camera work, it's terrible. They say that, yeah, just making sure that the audio is going. They say that he was lynched, and, you know, I tend to want to believe that, you know, whites did evil things to blacks, right, sometimes. Not that I want to believe, just that I tend to, I know that whites are evil too. They get caught up. They may not all be just. I well know many whites who are not of a just mind, although per capita they have more of a just mind. But, they did wrong too back then. Way back 100 years ago. So anyway, they gave this guy, his nephew, an honorary bachelor's degree to this guy who got lynched, they say, 95 years ago. And what did I think the president of the college, Morehouse College, called him get this, the Trayvon Martin of the 1930s. The Trayvon Martin of the 1930s in Atlanta, Georgia, I think. That doesn't make any sense. If let's say I were that nephew. This nephew is some imam. He's like his uncle, I guess, was a Christian, and his family were Christians. Somehow he turned Muslim. I don't know. But oh, can I make myself on screen? Big on screen, please? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. If I were that nephew, I'd be like, well, I'm already offended. I'm offended. It makes me think that it was not a real lynching because Trayvon Martin was certainly not a lynching. You know what I mean? So it's a big mess. It's a big mess. And CNN did not correct the record, of course, I don't think, that I saw. I got this story from Commie Nonsense, of course. What, is Commie Nonsense too beta to not to kiss up to the blacks and just to, actually, Trayvon Martin was killed in self-defense? It was not a murder. It was definitely not a lynching. I shake my head. Trayvon Martin of the 1930s. Nice. Crazy. Anyway, we're past 10 after here. And Tyrannosaurus is wrecked. Hake, you cannot claim the esteemed title of boomer. You are too young. Winky face emoji. Thank you, man. I know. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's a terrible mess going on in the world. And Hake is part of it. Contributing to it. I will get to your calls. Some of you guys are on hold already. But anyway, guys, let's just get right on. Hopefully this is not too loud nor too soft. With the show.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Hey guys!
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
So, how you guys doing? I am fine. I have one of the early prototypes from somebody, actually. A fan, I think, sent this. Jesse Lee Peterson 2024. Yeah, I know, it's 2025. Oh, yeah, you can tell it's a different shot, actually. I have to lift up my computer bigger, wider, taller. And you can get yours, probably you can get yours if you go to jesseleepeterson.shop. Oh, Lord. Bring, bring, bring. That'll work. Let me prove it to you, hopefully. jesseleepeterson.shop, just to see if it is available. You gotta get them while they're hot, because sometimes these things go away. 2024. Yeah. Jesse Lee Peterson 2024. There's your version. Mine is all white and all big. Theirs is this one is it's nicer. Isn't that nice? Rebuilding the country by rebuilding the man. Wow. jesseleepeterson.shop, really. Right on. Okay, let me get to some calls here. 1-888-775-3773. That's 888-77-JESSE, by the way. Aaron in Maryland is on the line over here. Aaron, thank you for calling and holding, man. What's up?
No problem. Hey, what's up, Hake? How are you?
Hey, doing fine. Thank you.
Nice. Hey, I was just on hold earlier, and Derek mentioned, he's like, do I know you from calling in the Hake show? And I was like, man, no, I actually call Hake's show the least. So I figured
right
I'd
on.
call in today. I figured I'd call in today because I actually been thinking about your show as I watch it. Someone mentioned to me who also watches the Hake Report that your show is basically like an adult kid show. And that has been exactly how I felt about the show for so long. But until they mentioned it to me, I didn't notice it.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, man, it's been mind-blowing now when I watch your show, because when you say stuff like, you know, you'll read something crazy on the news, and you'll just be like, that's not right.
True.
Yeah, and I'm like, and I feel the same way. I'm like, yeah, he's right. That's not right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like it's like, yeah, I like it, and I even like how you handle the callers. I don't know if "handle" is the right word, but your back and forth between callers is pretty innocent, man, and not in like a weak sort of way. You know what I mean? Where, you know, I think innocent usually people use that for like people that are like soft or something.
Yeah.
Does it make sense what I'm saying or no?
I follow what you're saying. I get it. Yeah, totally. No, it makes sense. I think that people
and I enjoy that a lot.
agree.
For example, when, you know, during that whole thrilling battle between Mark and Ronnie,
Yes.
I noticed Mark mentioned that I think the whites got to the moon or something.
Right.
And then you flexed at the camera and you said, which was real, by the way.
That's right.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome.
Nice.
I don't know if it's, you know, I don't know if it's real or not, but I thought that's really dope to do that.
Indeed. Yeah, I mean, you gotta, by saying it's real, you have to, that's a hat tip to the people who say it's not real.
Right. Yeah.
And it's also
arm flex.
it's also an in your face, and yeah, all around, all in good fun. Because if I just,
Cool.
totally, because you don't want to be like nasty. There's no need to be nasty. I have no inclination, at least in those moments between like all the strength, all the strong language is coming from oh, Bill, this was pointed off to this side, FYI.
What?
I was just telling Bill that his camera was pointed wrong. I had to be, normally I'm right over here, but I have to be over here. FYI.
Oh, okay.
No. But anyway, yeah. Mark is plenty strong. I don't have to like strengthen Mark's statements, you know?
No, I didn't see it that way. It was just like, I mean, you're white too, right? So it's just like,
Right.
yeah. It's dope.
That's
Yeah,
right.
the whites, we did it on the moon. Yeah, it's cool.
Indeed.
I like that, man. I enjoy it. I'm enjoying it a lot. It's very cool. What do you think about that, what I said about it being like a kid's show? What do you think
I think you're right.
when I say that?
I think you're right. I think it is an accurate explanation, accurate description. And it can be hit or miss. It can go like too far one way. It could be whatever. But I think that's a fair thing, because you know I grew up real Christian. When I say real Christian, I mean really Christian. I don't mean like real authentic Christian.
I don't really know what you mean, though. You
I
just said
mean,
real and then
I
real.
mean like by really I mean like Christian-y Christian. My mother is Christian. She talks the same way that Duck Dynasty gal, the niece, talked about the Phil Robertson who died. Phil Robertson's niece, is it Phil? The Duck Dynasty patriarch went to be with the Lord. I grew up hearing vernacular like that, and so there's like no cussing, no fighting, and no dirty talk. And so that's I'm like traumatized with that type of language. You could call, I mean, I'm saying traumatized, it's a strong word, but you know, tends to be sensitive to that audience. There's a lot of women who listen, a lot of kids who listen, and also on top of all that, like it's a there's a lot of like Christian people in my audience and in my family, and some of them catch it, and so I try to be both not deal with stuff that's not innocent, but also still be kind of innocent and play to that thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I notice you'll have reactions sometimes to things. You'll be like, whoa, man. You know? Like, whoa,
right. And
get that out of there. I don't want to see that.
True. Yeah, and some of that stuff I really don't want to look at. Like, you'll notice I do not show transgenders, for example, or, you know, the drag queens on my show because there's a lot of conservatives who show that stuff on the IG, and I tend to unfollow them because I don't want to look at that. And they're trying to just force it in front of you, you know?
That's so fair. I started realizing I could do that now.
Right.
There was always like a voice that would tell me like, oh, you're not trying to look at this because you're too weak.
Right.
You're scared.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, man, I don't want to look at this.
Yeah.
There's so many other things I could do. I don't want to look at this. Unless there's I'm a police officer, it makes sense.
Of course.
If I'm reporting on the news, it makes sense.
That's right.
You know what I mean? But like, if not, get it out of my face. I don't want to see this.
Yeah. Like if
I
somebody,
totally agree with you.
Like JLP said, if somebody shows up to church, then you're presented with it. It's not like somebody else, some conservative is trying to push it on you to be outraged or grossed out or be like, oh, this is shocking, wake up. That's a person who has that trauma and is showing that trauma, and then you just deal with the person as they are. So. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yep.
That's honest. You know what I mean? But I agree with that totally. I just enjoy your reaction to it. It's awesome.
Right.
That's genuine, right? This is you.
Yeah.
That's what you say when you see it. Yeah.
Indeed.
You're not like, cool.
I do ham it up.
Sometimes
because...
it feels like you're not acting at all, are you? This is genuinely you're, you know?
I mean, I try to be
That's
entertaining,
amazing.
so I'll talk a lot louder. I'll talk a lot louder on air than I do in normal life because you have to speak loudly to get attention. If you're talking, I think you do anyway. I don't know.
No. I wasn't talking about that. I was saying just your reaction to it, saying like, "No, get this out of here."
Yeah, it's pretty genuine.
Speak more.
I mean, I'll censor people's. Sometimes there'll be transgenders on the screen, and I'll like try to censor their face. You know, just out of respect to them too. You know, because it's.
That is so fair, man. Because they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
In the middle of.
Yeah.
That is fair. Yep.
Right on, man. Appreciate the feedback, Aaron in Maryland.
Yeah, no problem. I enjoy your show. Keep it going. I'll keep
man.
watching like it's like it's Sesame Street or something.
Indeed.
I don't know if that was a bad comparison, but I'm just joking.
Right. Nice. Right. Thanks, man.
All right, man.
All right.
Yep.
Bye. What did you guys say? Oh yeah, Ronnie over there said, I like how your show is more like PG-13 than rated R. That's right. Yeah, and it is kind of PG-13. I joke that mine is G-rated, that JLP is PG-rated, that Joel Friday is PG-13, and then Nick, the American Anchor Baby, is full-blown rated R. Nice. Don't call back, says Thinking Again. Wow. Yeah, all ages. And kids do listen. People are like, kids don't listen to your show. They do. They actually like Hake. Some of them. Some of them have called, actually. It's like my competitor, PewDiePie, his 9-year-old army. Still not. They're still 9. 9. Okay, what's up, White Wings 1776? Nice to see you, man. You can call in 1-888-775-3773. And let me just double check, because I'd like to get to any Super Chats. I'm traumatized by Super Chats carrying over. Over on buymeacoffee.com/ The Hake Report. Harmony? Is that Harmony? I think it is. Let me refresh as I check this screen over here. When you pass through the waters, 3 coffees from Harmony. I will be with you, and through the rivers, They will not overflow you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, nor shall the flame scorch you. Isaiah 43:2. Right on, Harmony. I like that song. It reminds me of a song. Fear not, for I am with you. Fear not, for I am with you. Fear not, for I am with you, says the Lord. Our God says, I will be with you. I have called you by name, and you are mine. When you walk through the rivers, I will be there. And through the flame, you'll not, no way, be harmed. You'll not, no way, be burned. For I am with you. I see there is no way God can cause you suffering or leave you in suffering when he is right there with you. God is with you, and anything else is deception. Says Harmony with 3 coffees. Thank you. That's cool. This is a Christian show, but Muslims, pagans, and Jewish people, shout out, and atheists. Is there such a thing as a goal? And agnostics and whatever else, Hindus, I guess, are welcome as well. Okay? And flat earthers and baltards. And sphere geniuses. Hat tip to the great Pinocchio's helicopter. Let me just double check over on the Streamlabs. What's up, Gregatron? Nice to see you, man. Okay, so, let me refresh this because a few items in the news, okay? A few items in the news. Muslims are pagans, says so-and-so. Opera fun opera. Okay, so in the news, that manhunt is continuing for the last 2 out of 10, I guess. Russia and Ukraine going crazy. Blah, blah, blah. Israel's going crazy. Blah, blah, blah. It's just war, and you're not going to get through it. Okay? I mean, it's never going to end. Unless Trump can get them to calm down. Blah, blah, blah. Putin seizes more land. Peace deal is dead. U.S. readies for war. I don't know. And Israel's, like I said, going crazy. I don't know. Crazy is not a judgmental word, okay? I'm not saying that in a judgmental way. Far be it from me to judge Israel. Unlike you guys. You guys judge Israel. I don't. But anyway, I didn't come on air to talk about that. But you can call in if you'd like to talk about it. I'm willing to talk. I'm willing to learn, listen, I guess, sort of. I talk big. 53-year-old drove into a crowd of soccer fans in Liverpool, dozens injured, no dead apparently. That's impressive. Right on. I don't know if he did it intentionally. They called it a British man. Crazy. It's Hake News. What was that Isaiah verse real quick? Just side note. Isaiah 43:2 per Harmony, okay? 43 verse 2. Nice. And they attacked that car. They, I don't know how you attack a car, but they charged at the car because I guess the car stopped and maybe they tried to beat up the guy. So we're praying for you Englishmen and gals, and many non-English are in England too. Terrible. Shout out to those from England. If you figure out a way to call into the Hake Report and the Jesse Lee Peterson Show from overseas, I mean, there's always a way because you can just pay for international calling minutes, but you might be able to get yourself like a Google number. If you have a friend in America who can confirm an American number for you to have that, or if there's another way, it would be nice. Lame-o Microsoft bought and destroyed Skype. Shout out. Mass shootings over Memorial Day weekend. And I'm thinking, obviously. And were they black? I don't know. But one was in South Carolina, which sounds like it could be black. And the other was in, and that was not non-deadly. It was injured, I think, injuries, which makes me think black. Shout out. They just, I don't know, kind of wild and not necessarily full-blown as deadly. And then the other was in Little River, South Carolina was the first one. 10 shot. Holiday weekend gathering turned violent, which, you know, it just makes me think black, shout out. But maybe it's not, right? I don't want to, I'm speculating, but I disavow speculating. Whatever. On Monday, that was Sunday, at a party, I guess, on a boat, I think, right? No? Monday night, 2 killed, 9 injured in a mass shooting in Philadelphia, Fairmount Park. Is that a black area? I know Philadelphia has a heavy black presence. Shout out. Authorities said the names of the victims not released. Philly Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel said an adult man and adult woman had died. Per the Gun Violence Archive, May 27th, 122 mass shootings in the United States this year. And they want to go after the guns, right? Just not shine a light on the black problem because the blacks got problems, bud. They got one problem. They have no problems, but they got issues. They got that anger and violence just normal for them, for certain ones anyway. 10 shot. And then Ronnie in Ohio wants to call in and say, oh, you whites do it too. Yes, we know. Not like this. Not so commonly. And he knows that, but for some reason he feels the need because he's threatened by what's his name saying that it's natural for them to be so violent. Crazy, huh? Crazy. And I don't know that it's natural. It may be like I don't know. 10 shot, 1 person injured, holiday weekend gathering on a charter boat. Yeah, South Carolina coastal community turned violent. What a mess, huh? What a mess. Critical condition, some of them, as of Monday morning. So who knows? Maybe they did die. A small community, about 11,000 people. That's a really tiny community. And then they have these blacks coming in. I'm assuming black. I'm totally assuming. I have no idea. I mean, I have an idea, but my idea might be wrong. I have to acknowledge. There was a flyer for the party. Makes me think black. It just keeps on getting blacker. Shout out to the blacks. And I'll eat. Unfortunately, I don't have a hat, but I'll eat my words, blacks, if I end up being wrong and it's a white or Asian or, Latino. I've seen Hispanics over in like Raleigh area, I think, South Carolina, right? I don't know my Carolinas. North Carolina, South Carolina. I'm from California, and I didn't pay attention to geography. I'm like, what? They can just change the name, and then it'll be useless to have learned the name. But it's not true. Sunday night with a DJ, 3-hour cruise, ending at 9 p.m. Distraught, seeing her friends get shot. The woman who answered a phone number on a flyer. She said she didn't want to talk anymore, and she hung up. That also sounds black. Because they don't want to snitch. They don't want to talk about it. What a mess. And I wouldn't blame anybody not wanting to talk about it, of course. And then this one, 2 killed, 9 injured in a Philadelphia park. It's getting warmer, and they say when it's warmer weather, people are outside, and there's more opportunities to shoot and get shot and do crimes. If you're the crime committing kind or crime victim kind. Fairmount Park. What a mess. 3 teenagers, 15, 16, 17 among the injured. Teens. See? Here's the commissioner, Kevin Bethel. Looks like a light-skinned black guy in Philly there. Did a news conference Monday night. What a mess, huh? I shake my head. It didn't occur to me, oh yeah, it's you know, the unofficial start of summer up here in the northern hemisphere of the obvious globe. Or in the closer to the center of the circle, on the circle of the earth, you flat earthers. I finally figured out how you think your sun works. It doesn't make any sense because I've seen the sun set, and the sun literally sets. It doesn't go far away, FYI. But you guys think it does. It doesn't make any sense. But shout out, flat earthers, catching some strays, catch some stray rounds, shots fired from Hake. No, that was not strays. Those were pointed remarks at the flat earthers. Well, I'm supposed to be talking about these, and I don't even know if they're blacks who are doing these shootings. Really? Look, gun violence archive. That's communist propaganda. There is no such thing as gun violence. Guns are not violent. People are violent, and they use guns for good. Mostly they are used for good, actually. Did you know? Which is an interesting statistic, because you wouldn't think so. You know, most people are evil, so you would think that most people use guns for evil. But no, actually. Most uses of guns, I think that they're, according to a statistic that I heard on the radio when I was a listener, and maybe I'm wrong on this, okay? So I could be wrong, but what I've heard is that more crimes are stopped using guns than are committed using guns. Kind of interesting, huh? Don't bring that flat earth voodoo on me. So, nice. Nice. Anyway, gun violence. That's anti-Second Amendment propaganda. And these people with their statistics, I wonder if they have, like, broken down by race of the perps and victims and stuff. They do have it broken down in areas, you know, in these cities. L.A. That's the only city I know. I don't know any of these other cities. I know that New York is up around here somewhere, right? I know that Philadelphia is around here somewhere. I know that there's the South over here. Atlanta is somewhere around here. New Orleans is somewhere around here. I know that there's cities called Dallas and Houston and, you know, black areas in those areas of that one state, Texas. And oddly, there's some stuff up here in the Pacific Northwest. What is that? Are those Hispanics? Are they whites? Or are there blacks up in the Pacific Northwest too? What is that? What's with that? An atlas of American gun violence. 10 years, 400,000 plus shootings. Blah, 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 blah. And it's used for propaganda, not for truth. What a mess. But yeah, I heard another statistic. I finished telling you that one statistic, right? That more guns are used to, you know, prevent crime more than committed crime, something like that. There's also a statistic that, if you discounted the black population, the so-called gun violence level in America, this was about 10, 15 years ago, it was about the same as that in the European countries. So if you discount the blacks, I know the Hispanics are everywhere. I've seen them at the Pacific Northwest. I've seen them down south. I see them everywhere. I think I might have played soccer with them down in one of the Carolinas. If you remove, discount the blacks from the, the murder, homicide, then the homicide rates are about the same, America and Europe. But they want to pretend, oh, America's so violent. It's because we have that black population that is allowed to get out of control. And then you have these educated blacks who are making excuses for it and lying about it and pretending like they're the victims. What? Charles Rangel was one of those guys, I think. Dead at 94. Charles Rangel, dead at 94. Per Commie Nonsense Network, per Drudge Report. I started to say far left. Drudge. Rangel. And then it's not just Rangel. Do I know how to spell Rangel? Let me do Charles. Yeah, Charles, Rangel. What was I not spelling correctly? Trailblazing New York Congress male, Charles Rangel, I don't know how you say his name, died at 94. Civil rights activist, degenerate, communist, and war hero. War hero? That's the first I've ever heard that. I don't know history, though. But I doubt that he's a war hero. Pfft. I think they're using the term loosely. But, I'm ignorantly poo-pooing the notion that he was a war hero. I think they're just trying to prop him up. But I'm wrong. I'm wrong in that I'm totally speculating. Rangel became one of the most influential black, capital B, because they're kissing up ever since Georgia, Florida, politicians in modern history. The Democrat elected to Congress in 1970 serve himself 23 terms and serve Satan. He also co-founded the Congressional Black Caucus, degenerate, became the first black member and later the chairman of the influential House Ways and Means Committee. Affirmative action. Look at that guy. A joke. You just look at him. He just looks like a joke. Trailblazing lawmaker. Lord. Is he the... No. I don't remember. Did Cernovich oust him? Cernovich ousted one of those black congressmen. Infrastructure workforce. See? Communist. Black excellence in Harlem, New York. Oh, Lord. Harlem, one of the Gang of Four Harlem lawmakers. Born in 1930. That's a decent life, actually. Not decent life, but decent length of life. 94. That's cool. That part's cool. He witnessed his father beating his mother. He described a tough childhood in those 1930s and 40s, I would guess. Father eventually abandoned the family, prompting a young Rangel to move in with his aunt and uncle, or aunt and uncle if you're one of those blacks who calls it aunt. Or whites call it aunt too, but I call it aunt. After dropping out of high school, went to all-black battalion in the 2nd Infantry, deployed to Korea, private first class, November 1950. Wounded while trying to rescue dozens of men behind enemy lines. So goes the story. Is that true? He got a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star with Valor. And nice if true. Right on, man. If true. Did he rest on his laurels? Everything else was so evil about him. Got the GI Bill to go to college. Earned a degree in NYU, St. John's University. Assistant U.S. Attorney, SDNY, Southern District, New York. Elected to the New York State Assembly. He became one of those phony politicians, right? Civil rights movement, marched in Selma and Montgomery. He didn't know better. He was a sucker like many blacks. Shout out. They didn't know. They're suckers. Young, dumb suckers. The older blacks, they should have listened to the older blacks who knew that was a whole bunch of mess from MLK and all those so-called civil rights. I almost said crap. Mess. Evil stuff. Self-destruction. That was self-destruction. enemies of the blacks among the blacks, being so-called leaders and pushing for change and so-called justice. Phony, fake. They wouldn't know justice if it slapped them in the face, if it threw them in jail, if it gave their killers the capital punishment. They wouldn't know justice. They wouldn't know justice if God himself came down in Christ proclaiming justice to them. They still don't accept it, even though they pretend like they're Christians. Black Christians are a different thing from normal Christians. I'll tell you that. They believe in blackness. They don't believe in God, but they pretend like they believe in God. It's crazy. Does anybody really know God? So few. Chuck Schumer. Not a Christian, by the way, speaking of. In fact, it's full-blown satanic Schumer. A grown male Democrat. I get that he's Jewish. A lot of Jews are liberals, right? So, you know, he grew up that way, didn't know better. But he's grown. There's no excuse. A great man, a great friend, someone who never stopped fighting for his constituents. And the best of America. Opposite. List of accomplishments could take pages. Leaves the world a much better place than he found it. No, he didn't. The 1930s versus the nearly 30. It's not better. It's through no thanks to him if any part of it is better. Seems like that thing was nice if he really did, try to save his people. Got injured. Hakeem Jeffries. Psh, get a Christian name, Hakeem. Sorry. I'm not sorry, actually. A phenomenal patriot, hero, statesman, leader, trailblazer, change agent, champion for justice. Makes me want to spit. Where's my spittoon? The Lion of Lenox Avenue, or whatever, 1N in Lenox. Transformational force of nature. May he forever rest in power. Certainly didn't act as a man of peace. Look at that. I see that face and I remember that phoniness. That's from way back in 2016. Oh, Lord. So rest in peace to Charlie Rangel. Or Rangel. But I have no examples because I can't remember things that crazy, evil things that he said. But I do have an example of a bad person, we'll call him. Another fake leader propped up by commie nonsense. Look at this. Okay, so, yeah, rest in peace. Oh, man. Charlie Rangel. If we go down here, no, we go up here. This is his commie nonsense morning updates. This caught my eye, of course. You guys know me. I have never gotten over this Trayvon Martin thing. And then I'll get to your calls. Trayvon Martin of the 1930s. So what, is it a fake story then? Is it a fake lynching? In Atlanta, honored. Imam Pleman El Amin. El Amin. Sounds like a Muslim name. Shout out to the Muslims. Is he a black Muslim? Took to the stage at Morehouse College to accept his late uncle's honorary bachelor's degree in religion. El Amin's uncle, Dennis Hubert. Dennis Hubert was an 18-year-old black, they capitalized the B because they're kiss-ups, divinity student in 1930. Divinity. You ever take divinity? You major in divinity? In 1930, when a mob, they call it, of 7 white, capital W, because they're kissing up to the, they pretend like these races should be capitalized. They shouldn't. White men lynched him on the playground of an Atlanta school. What? What were they all doing on a playground in an Atlanta school? If he was 18, I guess you could still be on a playground. I don't know what's going on. Maybe they took him there. Black 18-year-old college student lynched on a playground 95 years ago. And I would believe it just because they said it, but I don't know. I don't necessarily believe it because of what they say about it. They call him the Trayvon Martin of the not they, but this guy, one of these guys, calls him the Trayvon Martin of the 1930s. You guys familiar with the Trayvon Martin thing? The thug got himself killed in self-defense, physically attacked and beat George Zimmerman. George Zimmerman had to shoot him in self-defense quite clearly as Imam Pleman El Amin stood on the stage of Morehouse College in front of hundreds of people donning. And that guy was a community watch, and so he's watching out for the community, calling the police, started to follow him. They're like, we don't need you to do that. So he said, okay. And then Trayvon confronts him. In the world, Hubert, 18-year-old African-American. No, he was black. He was not African-American. Divinity student, Morehouse College, lynched June 1930. Mob of 7 white men. Playground of a segregated Atlanta school. Like segregated is bad. Last Sunday, the historically black all-male college where Hubert was a rising sophomore, they call him, awarded him a posthumous Bachelor of Arts degree in religion. 95 years later. When it's that much later, I also don't know the story. Look at this. At the commencement ceremony, that's a graduation. They call it commencement for some reason. Morehouse president David Thomas called Hubert a son of Morehouse, a martyr of justice. And what history now sees as the Trayvon Martin of the 1930s in Atlanta. In other words, not a real victim? Is that what you're trying to say? You're honoring another fake victim, a thug? I don't know if I would like being remembered as the Trayvon Martin of the 1930s. I would hazard a guess that Hubert was a more decent person than that, and that they just, they misjudged this guy and somebody killed him. El Amin never met Hubert, his uncle, obviously, because he was killed in 1930, and El Amin probably not, I don't know, he's 75 years old. Not 95. Wait, yeah, that's right. So that's not a, wait. That's got to be like a great uncle or something, right? Anyway, the Islamic saying there are 3 things a person leaves behind in their death. Their charity. It's a man leaves behind in his death. His charity, his knowledge, and family members who pray for him. What? Many prayers were said in his name. He said 75-year-old accepted the posthumous bachelor's degree. They give out bachelor's degrees. It's worthless. It's worth a dime a dozen. Maybe in the 30s it meant something. But today, a bachelor's degree doesn't mean anything. Shout out to the people who don't even have their, high school degree, but people with bachelors and masters and PhDs, and they're ridiculous. Okay, so blah, 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 blah. Legacy, charity, sacrifice, human life value. If you cared so much about value, pay attention to now. His family has a long tradition in connection with Morehouse, he claims. Proud of Morehouse to give Dennis the honor. Quite appreciative. Whole Hubert family really appreciative of that. Why is his name not Hubert? Why is his name all Muslim? Did they interracially marry into a Muslim people or what? I don't get it. A lot of blacks were rejecting Christianity. Because their Christianity's fake to begin with, but they're going out of the frying pan into the fire. into something worse. Hubert's family, well-established roots in the community. Father, prominent preacher. Mother, principal, blah, blah, blah. At the school where Hubert was killed. One of their promising children, a rising sophomore. Rising sophomore. You know that that's academic, what is that? Kissing up language? I don't know. Rising sophomore. To be murdered in just cold blood at the time, 1930. No human rights given to the people of Georgia. Human rights, communist buzzword. Hubert was one of at least 38 lynching victims killed in Fulton County between 1877 and 1950. That's not that many. It's not very many, according to the so-called Equal Justice Initiative propaganda. In Georgia, nearly 600 black Americans, they call them African Americans, were lynched in that period, second highest number of lynchings in any state. So not very many lynchings, actually. They hype it like it was rampant. It's not very many, honestly. I get that the population was much smaller, and many of those lynchings were of, anyway, I'm not going to get into that. We begin to address this history, we begin to create remedies for the harm and suffering that terror, violence, and lynching violence created. Meanwhile, they're justifying and living terror themselves. They're doing what they accuse the whites of having done and of still doing. Recognition of Dennis not only as a human being, someone who made his mark. Why would you want to do that? It's not right. Doesn't seem, it's just feel-good stuff, fake feel-good stuff. The African-American community was pushing for justice. Blah, 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 blah. What did they say? I wanted to get to, okay. So here's the thing. Wow. So, okay, so what happened was, on the fateful evening, June 15th, 1930, several white men attacked him, falsely accusing him of insulting a white woman. Falsely accusing him. How do they know that it was a false accusation? I don't know. It could be. There's false accusations being thrown around. I saw some whites falsely accusing, some people falsely accusing that guy who ended up stabbing one of them and killing him over at the river. Remember that? They falsely accused him of being a PDF. They were denied bail. They burned the father's home to the ground, according to this story. I don't know. All kinds of mess. They bombed another home or church with tear gas. Crazy. So were whites really having to be terrorists in their own country, they thought? Reminds me of the Muslims having to be terrorists in their own country, so they think. Making things worse for themselves. The men acquitted of murder charges. 2 were convicted of lesser offenses, per this coalition. 1 man received a sentence to 12 to 15 years for voluntary manslaughter. Another confessed to firing the fatal shot, received a sentence of just 2 years. Some of them said it was justified because he insulted the woman, so they claimed. This guy who got this award for his uncle, his mother was 12 when her brother was killed. Okay. Oh, wow. Scarcely spoke of him because of the pain his loss had wrought. Psst. What a mess. All these messed up sob stories. And then look at these guys today. These blacks at their college. With their black tassels or whatever those things are. Black style, you know, sort of African style. Wannabe. Many of the people don't even know about it, so they're trying to bring it up to have their, they like to have their stories, their sob stories, their horror stories. The lynching of Dennis Hubert. Look at that. and they're holding dirt from the site where he was shot and killed. These guys. Morehouse graduates. So they're just raised and born in, as Oprah Winfrey said. Look at that fence all messed up. Or that's not, is that a real fence? Or is it just netting? The Equal Justice Initiative and Fulton County Remembrance Coalition collected soil from the site of Hubert's killing and placed a marker there in his honor. That's not honoring him. That's an embarrassment on them for doing it, not on Hubert. Rest in peace, Hubert. 95 years on. What a mess, huh? They like to have their stories that they cling on to, and then they pile and pile and pile on you with their stories. Many of their stories are fake. That's why that guy said the Trayvon Martin, which is a fake, completely fake victimhood story, and they're holding on to it. And this is an educated man, a college, right, a president. And then I'll get to your calls, guys. President, Morehouse College president, David Thomas. Nice name, David Thomas. Judeo-Christian. Let me do this. A grown man, bald-headed, looks like he should be wise. Maybe in some ways he is. Wearing a suit, looking like he's sensible. Psychologist, expert on organizational behavior, academic administrator, liar. 68 years old. Blind, brainwashed, slanderer, by the way. That's slander. Because he's slandering beautiful George Zimmerman. Because George Zimmerman was the guy who had to do in little innocent Trayvon Martin in self-defense. So it makes me not sympathize with your fake story. You know what I mean, Jelly Bean? All right. Hey, what's up, guys? Let me get to some calls here. CJ in Washington on the line here. CJ, how you doing, man? Thanks for holding.
Let me get you off.
Oh, Lord.
Hey, what's going on? I wanted to talk to you about the anniversary that we had this weekend.
The anniversary that we had this weekend.
Yeah, George Floyd, 5 years sober.
Oh, yeah. Georgia, Florida. He's the guy who had the knee on his neck or shoulder blade, and he was tripping out like crazy, resisting arrest or acting crazy, jumped right through the SUV, got on the ground, like, put me on the ground. I can't breathe. And he died from the, perhaps it looks like the combination of overdosing plus the stress of needing to be restrained and held down by the cops. What a mess.
Yeah, do you think should have been
and people are calling it murder. In the world, it's ridiculous. The news calling it murder. What did you say? What did you ask me?
Yeah, do you think he should get federally pardoned?
Oh, Derek Chauvin? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he should be pardoned by the... I mean, he never should have been convicted. I think the convictions should be overturned. I don't know
if... You think they should overturn his I'm guilty plea?
They should overturn his guilty plea. That was a plea deal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's not like not like he believes he's guilty.
Yeah, do you know what they took off the table?
What'd they take off?
9 felony counts of tax evasion, money laundering, and assault and battery with a deadly weapon on a child of 14.
Derek Chauvin?
Oh, yeah.
Derek Chauvin was doing all that stuff, according to them?
Same here, just a couple months before George Floyd. Some 14-year-old kid was resisting arrest, and so he pulled out his flashlight, grabbed him by the neck, and smashed him in the head with it a few times, and said he was restraining him gently, and then they looked at the body cam footage, and they said it was just incredibly violent and brutal what he did to this 14-year-old kid, and
according to
We
the
also
story.
we aware that he had like 18 complaints for misconduct on his
Your phone is
professional
awful,
level.
man. Your phone is ridiculous.
Oh, probably. Yeah, we don't get good reception up here.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll just make it quick. He also had 18 personnel complaints for abuse.
Okay.
Yeah, the 99.5% of all officers do not have more than one.
Interesting. How about the officers
Yeah.
who are in these cities though, like MPD, Minneapolis Police Department?
Dude was a horrible human being, and he was gonna get. I mean, he pled guilty because he was gonna get found guilty on so much stuff if he didn't. But anyway, I mean, George Floyd was a horrible person, and you know, I'm glad he's not living with us anymore. But I just think about, you know, people from like Mark from LA who go, and they really don't. They really don't know.
Do you pray for? Do you pray for Derek Chauvin?
Yeah, but no, I don't really pray for people.
Yeah, I can tell.
But I mean, he's not going to be better off if he gets a pardon. He's just going to be worse off anyway. And you really
So
don't.
a 12-year-old boy is not. All 12-year-old boys are not equal, right? So this guy that maybe
14-year-old boy.
14-year-old, all 14-year-old boys. There's some big boys who are 14, and so I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to judge his character, but it sounds like maybe you might have been right. I don't know. You might be right that he is a rough dude.
Sorry, it's going to be out here. I would say that smashing a kid in the head with a flashlight before deploying your taser is probably not a very good call.
You might be right. I don't know, but you're using the term kid. I don't know if he was a kid.
Okay, smashing anybody in the head with a flashlight before you attempt to tase them is not a very good call.
There you go. You might be right.
And
I'm not one to judge.
And then once you have somebody handcuffed and they're on the ground dying of a fentanyl overdose, just like right in front of you, don't put your knee on anywhere near their neck for 9 minutes. I mean, the guy's an idiot. But
that's a matter of situational awareness and stuff. And when all that commotion is happening, the peanut gallery is harassing the cops. I don't know.
And you just got indicted on 9 felony counts of federal tax evasion, and you just got a complaint filed against you for abuse of a 14-year-old boy. And
you got a lot on your mind. Exactly.
That's and it should be crap. I make a lot of bad decisions.
You know what? Like watching the video by itself. I thought that it was fine until maybe the last couple of minutes, and then I was like, I guess that's questionable. But other than that, like just the video by itself, aside from all this context that you're bringing in, it's interesting.
I find that a lot of people think that he got convicted, by a tainted jury pool or something. Almost nobody realizes that he pled guilty. And no one really realizes like all of the charges that guy was already facing in his career. He had to be one of the.
Pleaded guilty to what though?
He pled guilty to second and third degree, or he pled guilty to 2 counts of deprivations of civil rights.
Oh, that's not real.
Well, yeah, the civil rights of you have the right to be alive is the one he deprived him of.
But he didn't actually do that. Like, do you think that was do you think that's a real charge? Those other things that you listed, those might be real. I don't know. I have no idea. But the ones that you just described, that doesn't seem real.
You can't expect to have justice if you're just going to plead guilty. Right?
But sometimes you have to plead guilty.
You don't.
Sometimes for the sake of getting persecuted unduly, you got to plead guilty to get a plea deal to avoid all those other charges. Because it sounds like either they were
die in prison, dude.
Either one they were going to pile on, which they had a whole lot of motivation to pile on this guy, or 2, you're gonna let them pile on you and not plead guilty. Sometimes you plead guilty so that you don't get piled on as badly.
Yeah, man. If I'm under federal investigation, if I've already been federally indicted for 9 felony counts, I'm like, yeah, I have enough self-awareness to know that you don't just, and then all of and he's got a concurrent abuse case already being investigated for assault with a deadly weapon on a minor. Like, the guy's a moron. Like,
do you think he's guilty of murder?
Hmm?
Do you think he's guilty of murder?
He pled guilty essentially to murder.
But do you think he's guilty of murder?
I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
But that's, if you can't, if you're doing so much other stuff in your life that you have to plead guilty to murder just to mitigate all of the other stuff that they're going to pile on you.
But you just told me that he didn't plead guilty to murder. He pleaded guilty to depriving civil rights, which is a fake thing.
He got found. Right, I said essentially murder.
What a mess.
He got pled guilty to depriving somebody of their right to life.
I can agree with your I'm catching your drift. Your drift is that this guy was cruising for a bruising. And yeah, when you go down a wrong road, which it sounds like he may have been, I don't know where you're getting all this, but
it's like you're just leaving yourself very
yeah, you leave yourself open to be abused.
Just imagine the deep hole that you've dug for yourself where you're pleading guilty to essentially 2 counts of depriving somebody of their life and federal charges just to get rid of the other stuff. Like you're essentially, I mean, there's not a lot of deprivation of life cases are not classified as murder federally because they're going to let the states charge you with murder,
right,
and then they're going to charge you with deprivation of civil rights. But that's essentially how the feds charge you with.
Do you agree with me that the feds should get rid of these fake civil rights charges?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the heart of it, I don't think there's that big of a difference of underlying facts of the case. I still think it's like double jeopardy.
Yeah.
However, Chauvin's going to live a much longer, happier life in federal prison than he's going to do if he gets pardoned. He has to go back and serve out 35 years in state prison.
What a mess.
That guy's he's going to get stabbed to death within his first 7 days in there.
The state prisons are that bad, huh?
Oh, they're way worse than federal prison. And I think he's already been stabbed, 17 times or something in the federal prison?
That's right. That's crazy, man.
Right. Federal
all
prison
because of fake racism propaganda, I bet. Because that's basically that was a local story. That's not a national story.
It's not all because of fake racism. It's also because him and his wife decided to commit 9 felony counts of tax evasion and money laundering.
Nobody who's stabbing him cares about money laundering and tax evasion.
Oh, I thought you meant in the prison. Yeah, I mean, if he got stabbed, so federal prison, that's filled with people that, get convicted for tax evasion. It's where your
right.
smarter criminals go. State prison, dude, that's just rape, murder, assault with a deadly weapon, strong-arm robbery, all that's just going to state, you want to definitely do federal time.
Okay.
And if you got stabbed 17 times in federal prison, and then you get into just like gangs, okay, we're going to put you in this prison just filled with gangsters.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the dude's life it's not coming back. And I'm not saying he deserves everything that he got, but
yeah.
I mean, you don't want to wind up in a situation like that. There's lots of opportunities to live a life totally different than what he was doing. And, I mean, I'm just saying he had a hand in his own demise, for sure.
I could believe that.
Maybe you can call it a complete lack of situational and self-awareness. But, dude, when you get charged, indicted 9 counts, you kind of put yourself on probation.
Do you remember where you got all this? Just so we have like a source. What's that?
My source is probably Google.
The internet? Right on. According to the internet, which I believe the internet. Shout out to the internet. I check the internet
Well,
sometimes.
it's not like I hang out on internet.
I'm really not poo-pooing the facts. I'm not even necessarily doubting the facts that you're presenting.
Well,
it's just that I hadn't really heard it. Nobody really looks into
when I say
that deeply.
Yeah, when I say the internet, it's not like I just heard it like on
No,
a
I know.
tablet.
I know that. Yeah.
Like I looked
I saw
like,
somebody said it on Twitter. Somebody said it in the YouTube comments. Although that's where I get some of my information is from that, and that, or at least it's like a takeoff point, and then from there I can look into it if I want to.
Oh, I can tell that you source some of your information from Twitter.
Oh yeah, definitely, man.
Anyway, I'll call back later talking about some other stuff that's more practical, but just wanted to, bear in mind that you always have opportunities to do stuff different in your life, and this should have been easily avoidable if Derek Chauvin had just taken a step back and thought, what am I doing with my life? But
that's a fair warning to us all, and I hope that he still has a chance yet in his life. Perhaps he's listening right now. Thank you, CJ. Your phone is still awful, but I wanted to get it. I would put you on with other callers who want to talk to you, but your phone is just too awful. We'll talk again, though, man. I appreciate it. It's great hearing from you.
I'll call back tomorrow from my house where I have better reception, and your callers can call in if they want to.
All right, man. Take care.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. I got to get to Mark in Los Angeles, California, who's on the line here. Mark, I had to hang up with him. What's up, man? How you doing?
Yeah, that was okay. I did want to get on with him. I remember this CJ guy. He called me M and accused me of lying about something. I don't remember, some time ago. He's a fraud, and he's the kind of guy that serves on juries, and that's what scares me. I don't know if all that crap he handed you is true.
Right.
But even so, Chauvin was supposed to get a life sentence, okay? Whether those other charges were dropped or not, irrelevant. And I can't believe a police department would keep an officer with 9 felony counts, a brutality case. I don't see how they would even keep him on the job. But more importantly than that, Floyd died, I believe it was from a fentanyl overdose, not from a knee on his neck.
This
guy calls it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I personally think that it was a combination. He was overdosing, and it could have been. I don't know, but it could have been the added stress that he put himself in to that situation to get arrested, and they had to restrain him. They had to hold him down, and he wanted to get on the ground, and he laid down on his belly, and it's hard to breathe on your belly. Even if you're fit, and he looked like he was fairly fit, but it's his own fault. It's not a murder, but
I agree. It wasn't a murder, but that's what he was convicted or pled guilty to, and that's why he should be pardoned. But did he? His phone was breaking up.
Yeah.
But did he down me for praying for Chauvin? Did I hear that, or am I mistaken? He brought my name up.
He brought up your name and these callers, and probably me too, because I say, pray for the persecuted whites, like Derek Chauvin. I don't know if he's talking about praying being a bad thing, but he's talking about taking up for whites as though they're innocent victims when sometimes these guys are not.
Yeah, in one breath, he said that Chauvin is the best place for him, in so many words, was to stay in federal prison.
Uh-huh.
Okay. In another breath, he admits that Chauvin was stabbed several times in prison.
Yeah.
So in his mind, that's a safer place. No, a safer place for Chauvin is at home if he's got a family where he belongs, or in witness protection, some form. This man should not suffer. Don't forget who the Attorney General of Minnesota was.
The worst guy imaginable, that light-skinned, black, radical, Antifa-supporting Muslim who swore his oath of office on a Quran, the book that tells you to lie.
Right. And I noticed when he calls you, I've heard him before, he'll try to, I'm talking about CJ, he'll try to play both sides. Oh, no, I know all this stuff is going on, but not in this case. He's a phony. And the thing that scares me, guys like him serve on juries.
Well,
I've been on juries, and these kind of people are apt to convict a white man first. I'm not saying necessarily him, but he could be swayed against us. Look at how he's condemning Chauvin. I pray for Chauvin every day. I hope you do too. And he was found guilty because he was white. The jury was ready to free him, and they were actually in the jury, deliberation chambers, listening to the rioting outside of the courthouse. They feared. It was a fear verdict. And I think President Trump knows it, but, he's in a spot where I don't think he'd want to do that. That is, pardon Derek Chauvin.
Yeah.
Do you believe Chauvin should be pardoned?
I think that he should, like I told CJ, yes, I think he should be pardoned. I think he should get those convictions overturned. If he has these other things that he was facing, maybe let him face those things if those things are real. But this persecution, they called it a prosecution, but it's a persecution of him over based on communism. Yeah, race, because he's white, because he's a white cop, and he basically the video that I saw the whole thing, start to finish. I finally watched it just the other year, and I was like, you can find it questionable at best in the last couple of minutes. But even then, like, they have the peanut gallery, those people harassing those cops. And so they have themselves to blame, really. And honestly, George Floyd, I have no ill will towards George Floyd. I get that people become criminals, and I like criminals, sort of. And they just can't help themselves. He seemed like a nice guy. I don't care that
he kicked a pregnant woman in the stomach.
I don't mind that. You know how women are sometimes.
A pregnant woman? That's pretty bad.
I mean, it's not good. You shouldn't do it. I wouldn't. I mean, I haven't done it, but I don't judge him for that.
Oh no, he's already been. Wasn't he convicted on that one?
Maybe
on the kid, the pregnant woman.
Yeah, I mean,
he was an evil
he got all
person,
caught up with. I mean, but everybody's evil. I didn't. He was not like a. He played pathetic too. That's partly why probably I kind of like him.
George Floyd?
Yeah, George Floyd. Oh, don't bother me. Don't kill me, officer. Being all pathetic, ridiculous.
You must have loved Rodney King.
No, I don't really remember Rodney King, but I do remember, like, he was crazy big on PCP, and like they couldn't beat him down. They had to be like they couldn't control him. He was driving like a maniac.
And the thing was, the first jury with the police officers found them all but one not guilty.
Yeah.
So they got Powell, I think was his name, on a technical charge, but they were all found not guilty by a white jury in Simi Valley.
And then the
double jeopardy. Thank you, Civil Rights Bill.
Yep.
Double jeopardy, which should have applied, didn't.
Yeah.
And they were retried in L.A. Same case, same witnesses, same evidence. Double jeopardy under the guise of a civil rights violation.
But CJ raises a good point that one should take, and that is, in your personal life, the general you, anybody who's listening, and me and CJ himself, you gotta listen to the warnings in your life if you're going down the wrong road. And based on what he was telling me, if that stuff is true,
right.
Chauvin had some warnings in his life that he was headed for trouble, and it's not just what happened to him. It's not justice whatsoever. But he kind of brought his life on himself too, especially knowing that whites are under attack the way that they are. If you're a white cop, you're not going to get fair treatment. You're not going to get real justice. So you should know that, you know what I mean? So,
well, the thing is, though,
a good point.
How can a police department? Yeah, it is. How can a police department keep a man with 9 felony indictments? Usually, they'll suspend you with pay or without pay. They won't necessarily fire you because you haven't been convicted yet. But with those many charges, the guy said that he had a police brutality charge pending or on his record. How would they allow that guy to continue to work? Any normal police department would suspend him with pay or maybe without, but I can't imagine them not doing some disciplinary to the man even before his trial on the federal charge, if it's true at all.
Yeah, I could believe that a police department is so inept and corrupt and understaffed that they're just desperate and would hold on to a guy who's been in trouble like that. Because, you know, it's federal charges. It's not like it's the state or local police.
Well, yeah, but there's lawsuits involved. How much did the Floyd family get? How much did they from the Minnesota police department that they sued?
I think they got wasn't it something like 60 million or something crazy like that?
Outrageous.
Crazy. Yeah, really.
And
outrageous.
Minneapolis has never gotten over the riots either. I mean, recently they've shown video of what it's like down there, and it's all bad. All the big cities are bad. Remember Kansas City? I mentioned that to you yesterday. Check it out, man. It's not the kind of place you want to go.
You know,
all of our American big cities are bad.
You know, I mentioned that the police are understaffed, and that's because of this kissing up to Black Lives Matter, and these political persecutions of cops in Baltimore. Remember when those Baltimore officers, including black officers, were charged over the Freddie Gray case?
And all not guilty, by the way.
Yeah, because it's.
But
I mean,
you know why though? Hey,
yeah, go ahead.
No, I got to cut it. I'm sorry to interrupt. But the reason those charges against those Baltimore cops were dismissed is because they had trial by judge. I forget, a bench trial.
Oh.
In other words, no jury, a biased black jury is going to convict those white cops no matter what in a place like Baltimore. So their lawyers said, look, just get a trial judge, have a judge by trial without a jury, which is everybody's right. And it worked out for them.
Interesting.
You know, now a lot of judges are left-wingers and would have probably, well, they didn't do it in Baltimore, but you can't always, if you're a policeman, depend on having a trial by judge without a jury and winning.
Interesting.
I'm not even sure if that's allowed in all states, but it was in Maryland. So, yeah, our cops are under pressure, just like our women are under pressure.
Yeah.
So we're fighting. I'm trying to do the best I can. No, I wasn't even going to call today. I was going to give it a break. But when I heard your last caller, I had to call.
I appreciate the call, Mark. I got to run. Nice talking with you.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye.
You too. Bye. Abdullah, a first-time caller out of Tejas, Texas, on the line here. Abdullah, am I saying your name correctly?
Yes. I'm one of them Allahu Akbar people.
Right on, man. You sound like you are Arab. Are you Arab? What are you?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not one of those blacks who turned Muslim or whose parents turned Muslim.
No. I was born in the States. I'm not an anchor baby, but I did live in in one of those Allahu Akbar countries. I grew up over there and then I left when I was 18. Came back home.
Okay.
And, my question is, now that I'm kind of waking up, I'm seeing how communism has just infected our culture in so many different ways, and it's kind of stunning how bad it is.
Yeah.
And I also do see parallels between communism and do you know about Wahhabism?
I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is.
Right, it's extreme form of Islam, and I see parallels between the two, and similarities, and I see the dangers.
Wow.
In the thinking and the mindset.
That's what Bill Lockwood. I don't know if you're a JLP listener as well. But Bill Lockwood said that. He said that Islam is socialism in religious garb. And it sounds like that's what you're talking about. Wahhabism.
Right.
A puritanical, austere branch of Sunni Islam.
Yes.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy, man. So is that a pretty rampant thing that's growing? Wahhabism?
Well, I mean, it was... I don't know how it is now, but definitely in the 80s and 90s where I grew up. I'm Gen X.
Nice.
And I was privy to that, and it basically just destroys your soul. It's anti, anything that's good. Basically, it suppresses anything that's good about you, your ambitions, your the desires.
Now you're
as a
talking
human
about
being.
communism. That sounds like communism, but I don't get
Yeah.
what are you saying that's communism is doing that to kills your
I
soul, or are
think
you
both.
saying Wahhabism?
Both.
Wahhabism.
I think both.
Okay.
Yeah, I think both. Yeah.
How so for the Wahhabism, in short?
Well, anything that's about self-expression, it's basically anti that. It's
So you don't
violent.
have the freedom of speech,
Right? Freedom of speech.
freedom to disagree and
violent.
question. Okay.
Right. Yeah. It gives them carte blanche to be violent and to destroy you
Wow.
if you were to question anything that. And it's very anti-American, anti-capitalism. For me, I was born here, and I immediately was, even when I was living over there, I was yearning to come back, and because I loved everything about America and what it stood for, and I just inherently knew that America stood for good, and then I, when I moved back, now I'm starting to see how communism is just destroying that. It's slowly destroying these communist, Marxist, communist ideas are just
What do you mean?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean that America stood for good? In what way do you can you describe?
Yeah. Okay. So how do I describe that? Standing up for your own, working hard to achieve something, and achieving it on your own, your character, your hard work. It's all you, that for me that represents good.
Oh, okay.
Am I making sense?
I think so. Sort of responsibility and freedom.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm with that.
Yeah, and not the group mentality, and not the what was
Yeah.
me, not being handed things, proving yourself, with your abilities and your talent, and being able to, and growing up over there was about what family you were, belonged to, what tribe, or et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Those things, made would determine whether you how far you would go in life, basically. And I just believed that was evil, and so America represented the opposite of that. So, and I had all my heroes and stuff that I looked up to that achieved things on their own with their hard work, and and seeing what's going on right now, and the rhetoric and what's spread in the media, even at schools and colleges and things like that, it's just very communist, Marxist way of thinking that I feel like is a disease.
Yeah.
And I wish. I don't. JLP always says my country's not coming back, and when he talks about the old days and stuff, I always go, wow, it was just incredible how it was before, but it's just gotten so bad now. And is it too late? How can you reverse that?
Yeah. You can only just live your own life, and
Mm-hmm.
because you can still be free within, even as you watch everybody else's freedoms get taken away.
Mm-hmm.
I laugh, but
Yeah.
it's not right. It's a shame.
Right.
So the Wahhabis, they're victim-minded as well?
Yes, definitely. Israel's the enemy, et cetera, the Jews are the enemy, the
Yeah.
white man's the enemy, Christianity is the enemy,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. Hate.
Yeah.
Anger, violence. It's just it basically kills the human spirit, basically. And I keep going to the
man.
communist thing, and I just see the similarities. I was watching a movie about Cuba, you know, and how what's his name came to power, Che, and all these people, and what's his name, Castro, you know, and I was like, wow, this is very similar to what I grew up with and their mindset, and yet you know, they're considered heroes. Right, Che is considered the hero to many here in the States. So they see his portrait and people wearing his shirt and stuff, and you know.
Yeah, right.
But that's a communist, you know, anti-God figure, and yet considered a hero.
Yeah, there was a poster of him in my government and economics high school class. My teacher had him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Along with like a Beastie Boys poster and other stuff. It was considered cool, and it looks cool, but it's not right. It's not. He wasn't. He did not stand for good, according to
not at all.
What I've heard.
And especially as a young person, you're impressionable. Yeah. And even at my college, there's a big portrait of Nelson Mandela.
Yeah.
And you grew up all thinking, oh, you know, he's such a hero. You know, what a hero. What a this and that. And then it turns out he's just an evil communist person that, you know, is now. Has opened you know, what's going on in South Africa right now is just horrible.
Yeah, big time.
But anyway, I don't know. I don't even know what my question is, but
well, it sounded like a comment, a lamentation of weakness taking over, or soul destruction taking over across the world, including in America, basically.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, and I keep watching these movies from, you know, like older movies and stuff from the 50s and pre that, and documentaries about what the country used to be, and I just feel bad, you know, how I'm like, wow, you know, it used to be just so great that, you know, people's morals and values and people, how they, you know, the family and all that, and once all that, you know, nonsense in the 60s came along with the civil rights and women, you know, feminist ideas, I think it just started to go to hell.
It is a shame. Does it get you down? It sounds like you're sad about it.
I am, but I just wish that there's something I can do. I'm in the arts. I'm, you know,
nice.
I've always been into music and movies and stuff, but I'm like, I don't know how effective that is, but that can be. But however, I've been listening to you guys for the past month now, and so my perspective's changed. And
right on.
I'm like, okay, well, maybe I can use art to promote, you know, the good values about America and what makes it great and stuff. And but I am an Allahu Akbar person.
There's a couple of Muslims who really love JLP. Listen to my show and his show, support.
I do want to read the Bible, though. I'm not sure what version to read. I do want to. There's so many versions.
I know.
So many sects.
I don't think it matters that much. I don't think I personally don't think it matters that much what version you read. But were you gonna ask me something?
Yeah. Because I know you do read the Bible, I think, right?
I have, and I still do sometimes. Yes.
What version do you read then?
I currently have a New King James version, I believe.
Okay.
I grew up reading the NIV, which is considered a liberal version for some reason. It's considered to be a thought translation. It translates the thought rather than what it's saying. And so it's not supposed to be the best version, according to what people say now. And but I felt like I got a good education on what the Bible says and is about from the NIV, and I liked how it read when I was growing up. I was fine with it. I didn't know any better or different. KJV is kind of some of the ways that they communicate is different from how we understand those same words and phrases now. So it's confusing.
So it's the NIV King James version, right?
Okay, so there's the NIV, New International Version, that I grew up with, and
Okay.
I have lately been reading the New King James Version. It's called NKJV.
Okay.
There's people who are King James Version only. They're like,
Right.
they're strict about it. They're practically Nazis. But I'm not like that. There's,
Right.
I don't think that it matters much. Different translations
Right.
have different phrasings that can, like spark something. You're like, oh, I get it. Or, oh, that's true. And so I don't think it matters that much. There are liberal ones now. It gets worse and worse. They try to
Right.
include men and women in things that shouldn't be like that.
Mm.
But
Mm-hmm.
other than that, I personally don't think it matters that much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was just I don't know. I'm like to where you guys are at as far as the peace. I don't know if you have perfect peace or not, but I'm trying to eliminate anything that's against that, and I'm starting to see that maybe Christianity is the way, possibly. So, but I'm like, okay, well, do you guys, you and JLP, do you read the Bible and apply it to your life, or is it because he talks about eliminate all thoughts are all wrong all the time, and that it's and then also forgiving your parents and et cetera.
Yeah.
And is also it, but then is the Bible also part of y'all's the way you live? And do you apply the principles of the Bible in your daily life, or is it something? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I think for me and for JLP we both grew up Christian, and so we both grew up sort of knowing the Bible. He couldn't memorize it as well as I could memorize it. I memorize stuff pretty easily. I retain information at least a lot of the times. But he will quote it or reference it sometimes without even knowing that he's referencing and quoting it. Or he'll say stuff that is totally really biblical. And so it's I think that it's nice to read it and see and like as you read it, I think there'll be some stuff that just rings true to you and you'll realize that's right, that's true. I think there's probably stuff that rings true from these other religions because they pull from stuff that's true. I mean, some people just live relatively wise lives in some sense, right?
Right.
So I think that I think you should check it. You should definitely check it out since you're interested.
Yeah, I am interested. I do, but I also want to make sure that I don't, because there is, growing up where I grew up, they're the Quran thumpers, I guess,
Yeah.
Where, it's not, I don't know. I don't want to get into that area, where I turn into like a Bible thumper type person and I'm quoting the Bible instead of. But
just reading it doesn't turn you. Just reading it a little, or a bit, as much as you're interested, doesn't turn you into that. I mean, it might a little bit because in your human pride, you'll fall into that a bit, but don't judge the Bible thumpers, and you won't be one.
Right.
You won't end up being one. Don't judge the Quran thumpers.
Right.
And even if you do it a little bit, you'll hopefully catch yourself and correct that as you live.
Yes. Well, hey man, thank you for the for letting me get on the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
I've been listening to you guys for about a month now, and almost every day, and it resonates with me and on a level that I have never experienced before. Really, honestly.
That's cool, man.
It's freeing me in so many different ways, and I was torn, for so long. Am I Arab? Am I American? Am I American? Am I Arab? What am I?
What a mess,
and,
huh?
Yeah, what a mess. But now I'm like full on American, 100%. Like, okay, this is my country, and I want it back. And I hope I can help to bring it back. And I wish I had joined the military when I was younger. But again, I was torn between, the identity and stuff, and
Yeah.
and then family and by the way, in the Arab culture or the Islamic culture, the mother is held in very high regard.
Really?
Yeah, like big time. Like you cannot enter heaven without making sure that you do good by your mother, and that's why you have these crazy people. Because they have their mother's hell running through them. But yeah, the mom is a big deal. Pleasing the mom and make sure mom is okay. And
wow, communism.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah, and that made me look at with Jesse's show. That made me look at that in a big way. I'm like, oh, okay, I see where all my hell is coming from. I see it now. I clearly see it.
Right on, man.
Yeah, and they're over there. So I'm gonna have to. I don't want to go over there. I do not. So I want to, but I do want to do the Zoom thing, and
nice.
So forgive them and all that. And I'm ready for that.
Cool, man.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Good luck to you, and don't let the world get you down.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. You guys take care.
Thank you, Abdullah.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, brother. Bye.
Wow. I am remiss. I missed some super chats. Hang tight, callers, if you can. If you can't, I understand. I gotta get to these supers over on Buy Me a Coffee. I didn't realize that Cesar had given me a new one. So did Gregatron. Thank you, Cesar, for your coffees as always. Gregatron says, I think everybody's related. You guys need to make a family tree. Phyllis is Mel's wife. Mrs. Parks is May's sister. Joe is May's brother. Dr. Detroit is Ms. Parks and Russ' son. Jason is Dr. Detroit's brother. Tony and Earl are brothers. The list goes on. Pretty amusing there. Gregatron, those are some classic callers. Classic. Didn't Jason call Hake one time? Cesar, 3 coffees. Sup, Hake? Sup, Cesar. Or Caesar. I like to say both. Hat tip to the whites. And to the Latinos. What's wrong with the blacks? Asks Cesar. Well, I can tell you a couple things I've noticed about them just in the past 3 days. Some of them, number one, keep running red lights and stop signs while I'm trying to drive safely in St. Louis, making it feel like I'm driving in a third world country. Terrible. Black cashier, number 2, aggressively beats up white women for not placing her $6 in her hand the way the black cashier demanded. Did you hear about that one? I had not heard about that one. Number 3, white man gets shot and killed by a drive-through worker because they got in an argument, most likely prompting the white guy to call the worker the N-word. Man. Shot and killed by a drive-through worker. Don't make the drive-through workers angry. Hat tip to the late, great Colin Flaherty. He died several years ago now, but he wrote a book called Don't Make the Black Kids Angry. Well, don't make the drive-through so-called workers angry. It's crazy. Racism may save lives, but these days it'll get you killed. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you want to be racist away from them and then be a brother to the brothers and sisters when you're near them. Right? Have some brotherly love. Don't be saying the N-word to them. They'll just get ticked. It doesn't really serve a value. I mean, you should exercise your freedom of speech, but righteously, with wisdom. You know what I mean, Jelly Bean? Thank you, Cesar. Indeed, you don't want to get killed. It's not worth it. They're so violent. Communism. Oh, and over on Rumble, here, man, oh man. Here, let me do this. Where am I? We're approaching 5 minutes till, I got to take you guys back to Mount Baldy. But on Rumble, I did see a couple from who? Who was that? Oh yeah, evil is still real. Tell moron Mark that I said 9 counts of tax fraud, not abuse. Mark gets it wrong, all wrong again. My offer to pay Hake and debate moron Mark on all his stupid errors in all his calls still stands. Says evil is still real. Look at that beautiful bark on that beautiful tree. Or is the bark worn off and we're not looking at bark anymore? That's like the whatever. I don't know. The bark is worn off that tree. That's not even a real tree. It's dead. It's a real dead tree. Looks like to me. We're looking at the video from Mount Baldy, guys. Oh, thank you, Misty and El Alacran, for the lemons. Thank you, pilled.net people. White Wings 1776. Nice to see you, man. And Chops ITMC. Ghost Pepper. 8 Pogromate. Maybe I disavow. Tyrannosaurus Rex. Pastor Chatelet, of course. Age of Inversion. The priority callers today will be Tracy from PA, first time caller. Rick in Hampton, VA, Virginia. William number 7 from California. Manuel from California. I'm at less than 5 minutes to go, and I have a rule that I don't take calls in the last 5 minutes. And it looks like it's 10 minutes to go, right? It looks like it's 7 minutes to go, but it's really 2-3 minutes to go because I have to end at 5 till because Joel Friday TV happens. So when I say, oh, I have a 2-hour show, really it's an hour 54 minutes, hour 55 if I'm really cutting it tight, you know? And so that's why I end in enough time for, Joel Friday to get switched over. But thank you guys. Thank you for the support. Shout out to the blacks. You know what I mean? Shout out. Priority callers. My regrets that I cannot get to you. No flat earth topic. No flat earth talk today, except for the very beginning of the show. The fact that that there is a college president acting like Trayvon was a victim of a lynching tells you they're really lost. You know what I mean? They really are. But like I told Abdullah, don't let it get you down. That's the world. So peace in the Middle East, or at least in your hearts, maybe, but as the Bible says, seek peace and pursue it. Because as JLP said, nobody has peace. They're lying. It's terrible. They're blaming. They're angry. It's a mess. All right, guys. I got to get out of the way for Joel Friday TV. Peace. I already said that. Bye.
Don't take the bait. You know they are fake. Just stop and wait. You could see the hate. There's no debate. Listen to Hake News.